Hi, everybody. Once again, Tim Rivers with J6 Patriot News, and we're revisiting our Warriors for Truth to update one of the Warriors that we featured back in 2022, Mr. David Sumrall. David, welcome to the interview again, brother.
Man, it's good to see you again. I can't believe we are still here, still fighting, but I guess that's what we do.
It's 2024 when we first started featuring the Warriors for Truth, because that's really what we consider people who have persevered to try and reveal the lies and then expose the reality of the moment. You had just finished doing your second documentary. You had already performed Writing History, which is your first attempt to display kind of what happened on the Capitol grounds, and then Bloody Hill, which showed the violence and kind of highlighted the people who were really killed that day. And that's kind of where we left it in 2022. But a lot of water has gone under this bridge in the 2 years since then. You've produced two more videos, and this last one, really the blockbuster. You want to tell me a little bit about those?
Well, I'll tell you, yeah, so four documentaries, one a year for the last 4 years, and we never thought we would make one and have to make another one. So the second was Bloody Hill. That's where we left off. The third was 1,000 Days of Terror, which explains in about 5.5 minutes the west side of the protest, what turned it into a violent event. And then the fourth, the most recent that we just released on January 1st, 24, is J6, A True Timeline, which is basically writing history with additional police body cams and CCTV footage and inside and the Capitol and the ellipse, things that we didn't have access to when we did writing history, but it's a timeline, chronological order film as well. I've been on Tucker twice since we've spoken. Of course, the first time was to, push the American Gulag Chronicles letters from prison. Tucker was gracious enough to have us on there before he got fired from Fox. I think 4 days later, he was fired from Fox. He was talking about a lot of J6 stuff before he left there. And then once he established in his new market, of course, we did the J6 A True Timeline interview, which ended up behind his paywall, which is kind of another story in itself. But several million views on his interview, I think almost 4 million. We got about 2 million on the film on X before they banned it and censored it from they put a sensitive label on it, which kept it from getting any more traction. So it's interesting to still see the control that we've been fighting for those first 2 years has continued and increased over the last 2 years. And I've testified in 5 different trials. I think since the last time we were here, I've been to DC 4 out of 5 times. The other time I had shoulder surgery and was able to Zoom in on a trial, but it doesn't seem to matter. We might get a couple of charges relieved, but it's still guilty. And we've had no one that's just walked away scot-free, aside from 2 guys out of 1,300 now. So it's an amazing long battle. And brother, I don't know that many people signed up for the marathon that it's turned into.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned you have these Supreme Court cases, which are actually already on the docket and are now scheduled, I believe, for April for the 1512. You have the challenge to change of venue by Mr. Fisher. In fact, both Fishers are the challengers. And these cases could have huge implications. And I already see the DOJ coming out and going like, well, if you overturn those, we're going to ask for, sentence enhancements because, that way they're not going to be punished severely. And it just seems a little bit crazy, a little bit vengeful, a little bit, well, certainly unjust, but almost tyrannical to pursue these folks in this manner over and over again. And yet, despite all of that, and despite their best attempts, the truth is coming out in the videos that you put together, in the documentaries, in the letters that these guys have written, in the interviews that we and many other people have done with them from their prison cells, Cowboy Logic and Melon Hawley. I mean, I can just go on for a while, but all of their messages are finally getting out to America. I'm just going to ask you, how does it feel to stand at the edge of history?
Yeah, well, right now it feels terrible. I'm ready to get over that hump, I guess, and get to the good side. We see the doubling down on everything, and that's the scary part, brother. And everybody says the comparisons to I wonder how this ever happened in Germany, you know, with the Nazis and the Jews and all that stuff. And then we see the comparisons here and we see the same repeat. We see Tiananmen Square, you know, in China, the same thing, you know, innocent protesters murdered by a government, blamed by the government, imprisoned by the government, covered up by the media and the government, you know, intentionally. Still in China, you talk about Tiananmen Square, you go to jail. I mean, 20 years later, that's how they want it for J6. And it seems like even in the beginning in the Proud Boys cases, they talked about the FBI informant that had told his masters that the Proud Boys hadn't done anything, they weren't being aggressive or violent, and that they didn't initiate any of the things on January 6th. Early on, it says there's FBI right there in the crowd, and it was swept under. They've doubled down. And now you have Higgins talking about over 200 FBI agents in the crowd. And what do? They double down. You hear that they're coming harder. They want 1,200 more arrests or 2,000 more arrests. And the numbers increase. They want Pearl Harbor 9/11 numbers, and they're willing to do anything to inflict that pain on people. That's all the more reason to keep fighting. But I don't understand why the disconnect for people is still there with the evidence that we've shown, with the video, with the testimony, with the letters. And even with Trump himself has said these J6 hostages deserve our support. And yet we see that support dwindling and dwindling and it's frustrating, not only for us trying to raise the money, but imagine how the people feel that aren't getting that support, that need more commissary, that need lawyer fees, that need, you know, bills for their family to be paid. So that's the frustration for me, brother.
Well, there's things that people can do about it. I'm going to start with the right. If you have seen Stop Hate, and not just Stop Hate, but all the men and women who participated in putting this amazing video together, you're just going to not believe it. Go to stophate.com, look at J6, the true timeline, and for once, you're going to see the puzzle that's been assembled for you. For now, you've just been seeing a little bit from the edge, a piece in the middle, only the things that mainstream media and the administration wanted you to see, just the edges of that picture. But I really have, I got to tell you, it's tough to watch some of it. There is violence in it because you will see, you'll see the demise of Ashley Babbitt, which was really hard for me to watch repeatedly. But I think you need to watch this video once or twice, maybe even 3 times, so that you'll finally understand all these images come together for you. The mosaic is finally put together. And that's the first thing you can do, is to understand it. And the second thing you can do is share the heck out of it. You know, we talk about, David says, you know, you can't understand why people have not risen up further, why they don't understand, why they don't seem to see the truth when so much has been revealed. And that is because so much is still being hidden purposely. We've revealed it in here. Now it's time for you, the American public, to reveal it. To go watch these videos, share the website, share the letter, share the information, buy the books, buy 2 and give 1 to a friend or a colleague. Don't stop telling the truth. And that's what David's been doing for since 1992.
Well, a couple days, you know, I might have taken a day or 2 off in between there, but I mean, like Tucker Carlson, everybody respects Tucker Carlson, his stance, his viewpoint, his you know, his outlook on things, the ability for him to go to Russia and interview Putin and to take the hits for that, you know, doing the right thing, whatnot, all the controversy surrounding that. So we look up to guys like that, you know, and we think, here's a guy that's fighting for the truth and whatnot. He himself said that January 6th or J6, A True Timeline, should be the most popular movie in America. Every American should see it. I mean, take his advice, don't take mine. But the guys that helped put this together, Paul Escondon, you know, Daniel Goodwin, of course, AJ Fisher, several people that Jason Rink, just guys that do the things that I can't do video wise. They have skills to do these things and put. So we've seen pieces of this video through the years, but never in the right order. You know, you're seeing the east side, then the west side, or the top, and then the bottom, and the times are different. You're seeing 2 o'clock and then 1 o'clock, you know, and things are out of order and discombobulated, I think would be a great word there.
Yeah.
So this puts it all in a timeline, in order. And you know, if you watch it and you get something out of it, that's great. But if you share it, it's even better, because it gives somebody else that opportunity. Just like these books, you know, I think everybody should buy an extra set for their library. And like you said, friends, people that would appreciate this, and some that may not appreciate it, need to see it just as much. So when we get active and we take the action, that's been, Stop Hate's goal since 1992 is to get people to, be aware. It's an awareness program that not everybody chooses hate as a first response. We don't have to do things like that. Now, I'm not saying it's illegal, and I'm not saying sometimes it's not useful, because I'm sure, but to use it as a first response, and we see what the government has done to politically divide all of us and make us come to the point of a civil war.
Yeah,
And we
very
don't
close.
want that. We don't want that. I don't want to kill my neighbor just because he doesn't agree with me politically or for any other reason. It's just dumb. The Civil War was the worst time in our history. We don't need a repeat of that. The government is pushing both sides toward this. We need to wake up to that reality and understand who's doing the pushing. And that's really been our thrust, even through this January 6th thing, is to show how this is that divisive moment and who's doing it, the intentionality of that. And that way, when you see these things and you recognize them, it encourages you to share that with people that don't understand it, that haven't gotten it, that don't see that picture as clearly yet. Because once they see what really happened from the police perspective and the protesters' perspective, and from all the different outlooks or places that you could be different times, it tells a totally different story than the media will ever tell you. It's worth the investment of 1 hour and 6 minutes to watch that film and to click the share button and to send it to all your friends. And let's just see what happens. It's worth it. It's worth it for us to do that kind of thing. And we don't charge for these movies. Everything on Stop Hate is free. Just go to stophate.com. You'll see all 4 of those documentaries, from the newest at the top down to the oldest at the bottom, all 4 of them. And just watch them and let us know what you think. And please share all that work and help make a difference in the J6ers' lives and in America's future. Because if we don't get ahead of this, it will be the end of us. They want it that way. It's been set up methodically, carefully, planned out, choreographed chaos, if you will, to bring us to this point. It's up to us to stop that forward momentum and to turn this ship around and start heading back to port.
Well, David, you do so much for so many people, and folks will never understand how much you've really done, but we do. And that's why we call you a warrior for truth, and why I personally like to call you the king of caring. David Sumrall, thank you so much. And, we owe you so much for what you do, but don't stop. Not you and America. Don't do nothing. This is Tim Rivers for J6 Patriot News.